What's up guys, it's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. The knowledge I'm going to be dropping today is on the previous card, the best bets for the previous card, which was Marvin Vettori versus Jack Hermansson. Now I'm going to make this a kind of a shorter video because if you have been watching my videos, you probably know that I am susceptible to go on rants from time to time. And I just want to preface this video by saying I haven't checked any of the odds that I will be mentioning throughout this video, but I pretty much know what the odds were, the odds that I'm going to mention. So I may be wrong on a couple of them. Don't go shouting out on the comments. I mean, you can if you want. It helps with the algorithm. So yeah, actually, if I am wrong on some of the odds, tell me what I'm wrong on. But I just want to let you guys know I haven't actually done research on all the odds. It's just coming off the top of my head. So I may be wrong on a couple of the odds, but I won't be crazy wrong. So let's get straight into it. Jake Collier versus Gian Villante kicked off the card. And, you know, this fight, was kind of a comedy fight. A lot of people were laughing at this fight, me included. But this fight was a solid fight. I really enjoyed this fight, especially the first round, the first 1.5 rounds. They were really good. Obviously, they got tired after that, and the action kind of waned a little bit. But especially that first 7.5 minutes, that was a solid 7.5 minutes, and it was a solid 7.5 minutes and a solid 15 minutes, to be honest, for Jake Collier. Now, Jake Collier kind of dominated that fight, you know, so you could call that a good bet because he was a pretty decent sized underdog around the 160 plus 170 range. But I can't get behind the bet on Jake Collier, even though he did largely dominate that fight, just because of the unknowns going into the fight. So if you did watch my preliminary card breakdown video, which I post on my YouTube channel the week before any upcoming UFC card, I actually did mention that you can't really cap Jake Collier. Reason being is because this was only his second fight at heavyweight. His last fight at heavyweight was a few months ago. He got knocked out by Tom Aspinall in under a minute, in about 45 seconds. So that's the only fight you have to go off, because he was jumping from middleweight to heavyweight. So that's such a big jump in weight that you didn't know how he was going to fight at that weight class. You couldn't watch his middleweight fights and go, okay, this is Jake Collier. This is, he's got good defense here, he's got good speed, this is what he does, he's able to wrestle, like all of that stuff, right? You can't say that the stuff he was going to do at middleweight was the stuff he was going to do at heavyweight. So I can't really class this as a good bet, although in hindsight it was an amazing bet, because plus 170 and he dominated. But hindsight is always 20/20, and I'm happy I didn't play this fight. It took restraint from me. It didn't take much restraint from me to not play this fight, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that even though Jake Collier dominated, I'm happy I didn't play it, because it would have been a silly bet in my opinion, just the way I bet fights. I guess the only thing you could say it was that Jake Collier was coming up from middleweight, so he probably should have some speed advantage, which we actually saw in the fight. But I know a few of you cashed on Jake Collier. Well done for cashing, but just in my opinion, it wasn't a good bet. The best bet for this fight was no bet, was to stay away. And I actually did mention on the preliminary card breakdown video, you can go and watch it, I actually did mention that the over 1.5 was the only bet that I would even think about, just because, like Parker Porter and Josh Parisian 2 weeks ago, and like Collier and Villante actually turned out to be, when you get these low-level heavyweights that are not in their prime, let's say, they can actually be extended in the fight longer, and obviously the heavyweight overs are usually always set at 1.5, and so you can get decent money on the over 1.5, over 2.5. And this fight actually went to decision, so that was the only bet you could kind of target, in my opinion. But even then, there was lots of unknowns, so you probably should have stayed away. So the next fight is Damon Jackson versus Ilia Topuria, and this is a fight I was definitely wrong on, because I said that I believe there was some value on Jackson here, because we just had some unknowns about Ilia Topuria. Although he looked very good on the regional scene and against Yusuf Zalal, he was coming up against a veteran of the fight game here, Damon Jackson, and there was still question marks on Topuria, so I didn't want to bet him. But I know a lot of people did bet him. It turned out to be a great bet because he demolished Damon Jackson, actually put him unconscious. He didn't just TKO him, he KO'd him within about 3 minutes of the first round. So solid there. Solid bet on Topuria. If he was on Topuria, congratulations. That was definitely a good bet. Probably one of the best bets in the card because he made it look so easy. The next fight was Jose Quinones versus Louis Smolka. Now, this was a great fight. It was a good back and forth fight. Quinones was dominating Smolka in the first round, but Smolka, he's a dog, man, and he managed to put that pressure on Quinones, and he ended up stopping him via ground and pound in that third round. Now, if any of you was on Smolka inside the distance, great bet. I know Rockstar Z, who's been on fire lately, Rockstar Z on Twitter, he dominated this fight because he had the under 2.5 and he had Smolka inside the distance. And I believe he had another bet. I think he had Smolka by TKO at plus 600 as well. So that was a home run for this fight, put him up about 5 units on one fight. So well done, Rockstar Z, and whoever tailed him as well. I know a lot of people are on the Smolka side in this fight, and obviously it turned out to be a good bet. It wasn't looking like a good bet, that Smolka bet, but at the end of the day, we know Smolka's always dangerous, especially if he can start to put that pressure on. He starts hitting to the body, and we know how good he is on the ground. So a lot of people kind of favor Teko on the ground to get takedowns and stuff, but Smolka is super dangerous on the ground. And at the end of the day, when he had Teko on the ground, Teko gave up. He was on top of him. He started dominating him, and he gave up. So if any of you was on Smolka at minus 140, that's a good bet. And the next fight, Jordan Leavitt versus Matt Wyman. Now this fight was obviously, it was the craziest knockout, one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen, one of the craziest knockouts in UFC history, and definitely the craziest knockout on the card, although Benitez will probably have something to say about that. But at the end of the day, what Jordan Leavitt did to Matt Wyman it was unbelievable. It was crazy watching it. So before this fight, I was actually saying that you can't be betting Leavitt. He was like minus 400. Matt Wyman, although he was 37 and definitely past it, Jordan Leavitt, it kind of looks awful on tape. At the end of the day, he's very, very a good submission threat. But other than that, he doesn't look very good. So anyway, if you got Jordan Leavitt at minus 400, I guess it's a good bet because he picks up Matt Wyman, and at 22 seconds of round 1, he slams it into oblivion and basically catches a body in the octagon. It was the first death in the octagon. I shouldn't be saying that. I guess it's not a funny thing to say, but that's what it looked like, man. It looked like he killed Matt Wyman because Matt Wyman went stiff, his eyes went in his head, and he did not move for a long amount of time. Luckily, Matt Wyman is fine now. Dana White came out after the fight at the press conference and said he's fine, he's walking around, there's nothing wrong with him. So that's good. I'm happy Matt Wyman is safe and recovered well. But fuck, man, that slam was crazy. If any of you haven't seen the Jordan Leavitt versus Matt Wyman fight, you could probably catch the whole fight on Instagram, man. It's like 22 seconds, and the only thing of note in that fight was Jordan Leavitt slamming Matt Wyman, and Matt Wyman was actually smiling. I don't know why, but he was smiling on his way down to getting slammed, which made it even more sadistic, horrific, whatever word you want to use. So I can't say Jordan Leavitt was a good bet at minus 400, minus 450 or whatever he was, just because we didn't get to see the fight play out. If your fighter goes out there and knocks him, like McGregor versus Aldo, you can't really say it was a good bet. I bet McGregor, by the way, there, but you can't really say it was a quote-unquote good bet just because it was just a one-punch knockout. You don't know what would have happened in the fight. Obviously, I thought McGregor would win. I put a lot of money on McGregor. Actually, if you go on my website and read my blog post, how I started earning a living from MMA betting, you will see how much I put on. I put all my savings at the time on McGregor to win. These times, I was not a professional bettor. This was just over 5 years ago now, I believe. They fought in 2015. I think it may have been December. So this was 5 years ago. So I did not know professional betting or anything. I was just getting into betting properly on MMA. So don't put all your savings on any bet. Okay, I was young and dumb at that time. But anyway, I obviously thought he was going to win. But I can't say it was a good bet just because of how the fight played out. Even though I think McGregor would have dominated that fight, and their record both their records post that fight kind of show that McGregor would have dominated that fight, in my opinion, and the fighting styles. But anyway, this is about Jordan Leavitt versus Matt Wyman. Reason I brought out the McGregor fight is that even though Leavitt made it look easy as fuck, I can't say it was a good bet just because we don't know how the fight would have played out if it went further. But I'm not going to say it's a bad bet either because, he knocked him out in I'll just move the camera there. He knocked him out in 22 seconds, one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen in history. So I'm not going to be stupid and say it was a bad bet, but I just say it was kind of like a void, that one. But congratulations, obviously, if you was on him. It's always good to see people making money. The next fight was John Allen versus Roman Dolidze, and that was a close fight initially. I don't know how it was a split decision. I believe Dolidze definitely won that fight. I think the person who scored it, the judge who scored it a split decision, was Chris Lee, and he scored some crazy decisions he scored some crazy scorecards that card. I can't remember exactly. I'm trying to look through now. I think he gave Smolka the first round against Quinones, and there was another crazy one in there, like a really, really bad one. Anyway, I can't remember, but yeah, that Chris Lee, I don't know what the fuck. Chris Lee's been judging for 14 years, I saw on Twitter earlier. I didn't fact check it, but someone tweeted that he's been judging for 14 years. I was like, mate, like judging MMA for 14 years, like how the fuck do you not know who wins a round if you've been judging for 14 years? Not like he's just getting into the sport, but again, I don't want to go on a rant about the judges. They've fucked me so many times. I'm sure Chris Lee specifically has fucked me so many times, but I have been on the good end of some decisions before. And just a little jewel here, you can moan when you're on the end of bad decisions and stuff, but if you're in this game long enough, if you're in this game for the long term, the good decisions and the bad decisions will eventually balance themselves out. So if you was on the wrong side of a couple of decisions recently, don't worry guys, just stick at it, stay smart, bet smart, don't chase your losses, and the decisions, you will get a good decision at some point. Chris Lee will be on your side at some point, believe me. Anyway, Allen versus Dolidze. Yeah, so Dolidze, it was a decent fight. I mean, Allen put up a decent fight also. It's not like he ran away with the fight, Dolidze, but he was always kind of just one step ahead. And I mean, he never really looked in danger of losing the fight. I guess maybe the first round it was kind of closer at moments, but he never really looked in danger of losing the fight. So I guess it's a decent bet. It was like minus 180. I think some people got him like minus 140 and stuff, so that's pretty good. Gabriel Benitez versus Justin James. This is probably one of the best bets on the card just because of how he dominated the fight and also his price. So actually Gabriel Benitez opened up as a underdog in this fight, which is absolutely crazy. I'm very annoyed I didn't get on that opening line, but as we know, the limits are very small in them lines, and I don't tip them lines to members because that would be stupid because nobody can get on them lines anyway. So I always wait for the lines to settle before I send my tips out to my members. And Gabriel Benitez was a tip that I sent out to members. I was very, very confident on Gabriel Benitez. We actually had him in a parlay with a prop bet for the Evloev Landwehr fight. I did Evloev Landwehr over 1.5 rounds. It was something like minus 350 or something. But I thought that was value, to be honest. I thought that Evloev fight in Landwehr, I thought there was no way that was going to go under 1.5 rounds. And I put him in a parlay with Gabriel Benitez. It was like at minus 120, minus 115, something like that. I can't remember now. Benitez, we got him at like minus 200, so the price was a bit thing, but I still capped him way above minus 200, so I still thought there was value in that line. Unfortunately, the Evloev fight did get cancelled, so we had a straight bet on Benitez. We had 4 units on that, and that cashed with ease. James never looked in that fight, you know. He did catch Benitez a couple of times, and you could see Benitez was hurt. Not hurt, but he definitely got woken up. Benitez's face, it's kind of like when maybe, I don't know, like I've seen some people do it when they fight Yadong Song. I've seen some people do it when they fight Jeremy Stevens. When they get hit, their face opens wide, like, oh my God, like what the fuck was that? Like, was that a real punch? Because I've never felt anything like that. And you kind of saw Benitez do that against Justin James. Justin James hits so fucking hard, man. Don't take anything away from him. He lost that fight, but he hits so hard, like ridiculously hard, especially in that first round. And Benitez felt a couple of his punches and he didn't quiver. He got caught against the fence a few times, but, you know, he stayed calm. Mowgli hit him hard with them leg kicks and, with the body kicks. And, you know, the kicks basically were the tail of that fight. He slowed him down badly with them kicks, and then he finished it off with that brutal knee. As James was coming in, he stepped in with the knee, and fuck, man, that just ended Justin James. It flew him across the octagon. It was like a video game or something. He just kneed him like a football. And fuck, man, Yeah, Justin James was in real pain, and he just basically did not fight back. Benitez went over him, elbowed him a couple of times, and the ref called the fight. It was a bit annoying because that was only about 50 seconds left in the fight, and we actually did bet on Gabriel Benitez to win in round 2, and we bet on Gabriel Benitez to win in round 3 as well at huge plus money. We had like, I believe, plus 800, and then for the round 2, and then like plus 1,100 for round 3. So if he could survive, if that knee didn't hit, I'm pretty sure James would have survived for 50 seconds more. And then we would have definitely cashed the Benitez in round 2 or round 3, most likely round 2 prop. So it's a bit unlucky there, but at the end of the day, the knee hit. He landed a knee. It's a fight. And so we still cashed on that fight. We still profited decent on that fight because we had Benitez in a straight bet after the parlay was cancelled. So that was a great bet. I believe Benitez, one of the best bets on the card, just because we got to see the fight play out as opposed to the leave it fight. And even at minus 200, the fight kind of showed that he had loads of value on that line. And I mean, whoever got on the plus money opener, that's kind of crazy. I do not know how the bookies opened him at plus money. I mean, he was a level above Justin James, and this is exactly what I said in my breakdown. Anyway, the co-main event of the evening, we had 3 cancelled fights on this card as well. It was Cody Durden, Jimmy Flick. I actually had a bet on Cody Durden there. Evloev versus Landwehr, that was cancelled. And Talia Santos versus De La Rosa, which was cancelled and is not rescheduled. Talia Santos is now fighting Gillian Robertson in a couple of weeks, I believe. So the next fight was the co-main event of the evening, Jamal Hill versus Ovin St. Preux. Now, this was a hard one for me. I was going back and forth on this fight, and I just decided to stay away because I was happy with the bets I had on the card. I was looking at OSP in round 3 because I thought he may wear him down late. Then I was also looking at Hill inside the distance because, we know that OSP, he can get overwhelmed and he does seem to get hurt in every one of his fights, although he does come through that adversity a lot of the time. Anyway, ultimately I decided to stay away, and something I'm super impressed by from Hill in that fight was that he came through some adversity there, some heavy adversity, because OSP was chipping away with them leg kicks often, and you could tell that Jamal Hill was hurting from them leg kicks. He started to limp at some point in the fight, in the second round actually, before he stopped him. He switched stances, so his leg didn't get kicked. Every time OSP was feigning with the leg kick, he was moving his whole leg away, like he was hurting from their leg kicks. And at that point, I was like, oh yeah, the OSP round 3 is on. But he turned it around, man, and he just caught OSP with the boxing, and he managed to put OSP away. Now, it's not easy to put OSP away. It's easy to hurt OSP. OSP gets hurt in every fight, but it's not easy to put OSP away. So I was very, very impressed by Jamal Hill there, and he was definitely one of the standouts on the card. It was kind of his coming out party, even though he was undefeated fighter. This was obviously his hardest fight of his career, and he passed it. He came through adversity and he passed it. So anybody who got on Jamal Hill there, good bet, well done. And then the next fight was the main event of the evening, Jack Hermansson versus Marvin Vettori, fight of the night. What a great fight. I was very vocal in my breakdown and prediction that I thought Marvin Vettori was going to defeat Jack Hermansson here. And it was funny because the community was really divided. I saw a lot of people on Vettori, but I saw a lot of people on Jack Hermansson here. And like people that I know that aren't really into sports betting, but they're into UFC, they was all telling me Jack Hermansson's going to win, right? But then a lot of the people who are really into betting and really do their tape study and do their research diligently and try and do this as a profession, or do this as a profession, they was all on Vettori. So it was kind of like, there's kind of like the UFC fans versus the betting fans here versus the UFC bettors here. And I'm happy that we came out a winner because, as I said, I was very vocal in my love for Marvin Vettori this week. And yeah, it paid off. Look, Marvin Vettori, even though it was a close fight, and I did say on my Twitter, I said Marvin Vettori, I said that the scorecards don't really tell the tale of this fight. Vettori, he dominated that fight. It was a close fight, but at the end of the day, it's strange to say because like it was a close fight, but at the same time it was kind of a blowout because Vettori he never really looked in trouble. That third round, he looked a bit gassed, but he won 4 rounds to 1, and one of the rounds was a 10-8. So, I mean, if that's not a domination, I don't know what it is. Jack Hermansson couldn't get him to the ground. He tried his hardest. Vettori, the one time he did go to the ground, he actually reversed position, ended up on top of Jack Hermansson. So he was winning the grappling. He was clearly winning the striking. And other than that third round, it was basically a flawless performance for Marvin Vettori. So Marvin Vettori shut a lot of people up there. Now he moves into the top 5 because Jack Hermansson was like ranked 4 or 5. And that minus 140, that's a solid bet. I think that had solid value there. I did cap him at about a minus 150, minus 160, about a minus 150 to minus 170 range. And you will see that in the breakdown. I did say that. I said I gave him about a 63 to 65% chance of winning this fight, which leaves him about that minus 160 range. And we got him at minus 140. Me and my members had a 3-unit bet on him, so we cashed there, which gave us a profitable night, which was good. Marvin Vettori almost got that first round stoppage, but he did get a 10-8 there, rightly so as well. But yeah, that was it. So just quickly going through, I think Vettori was obviously one of the best bets on the card. Jamal Hill, I guess, was one of the best bets as well. Benitez, I'd probably class that as the best bet on the card, because I'm just talking straight bets as well in this one. I do think the under 2.5 on the Benitez James fight at, like, I believe you could have got that even money, which is probably one of the best bets on the card as well, because I mean, fuck man, it ended in the first round, you know. But just straight bets wise, Vettori, solid bet. Jamal Hill, decent bet. Gabriel Benitez, probably the best bet on the card for me. Made it look easy. Dolidze, yeah, it was alright bet. Jordan Leavitt, you know about that one. Louis Smoker, you know, it was back and forth, but the KO prop was definitely there, and the inside the distance was probably the best way to bet that. Ilia Topuria, one of the best bets on the card. I mean, he was high, he was pretty chalky, minus 250, but he made it look easy against a veteran. And then Jake Collier, yeah, I mean, you know my thoughts on that fight, so it was pretty decent. Look, guys, I guess that's all I got to say today. I'm going to be back out again in a couple of days with the free bet video. I'll also be putting out my breakdown video of a specific fight. If you want to see a specific fight broken down, last week I did the Marvin Vettori Jack Hermansson fight. So if you want to see that fight broken down, just comment below. Sorry, if you want to see a specific fight for the upcoming card broken down, comment below and I will probably do that one. And then I may also do another preliminary card breakdown video for this card as well. I'm not 100% sure yet. It depends how much time I have after I tape the fights and stuff like that, and depends what order I tape fights in. But yeah, that's it for me. If you do want to sign up and earn money with me, a professional combat sports bettor, all you need to do is go down in the description below and I have our results there you can take a look at. I also have my webpage where you can learn a bit about me. And that's basically it, guys. I will see you in the next video.